Well, here we are. I never thought that this day would come. I really didn't. I have been sitting on this beach. I am sunbaked. I am looking like Trash Can Man when he ventured in from the desert. I've got blisters all over me because I promised that I would not leave this beach chair until I finished reading The Stand. And it's taken me about 6 or 7 weeks to do that. And you can imagine the sunburn that's going on here. But I can't believe it. I have finished this book. It is the longest book I have ever read in my life. And will I read another book as long? Well, I don't know. That's a really good question. I guess we'll have to find out when Big Summer Read 26 comes out. Anyways, today we're going to talk about the last remaining bit of Stephen King's The Stand. The intention was to have 2 episodes come out from this part of the book, but things were happening so quickly in the book, and if you read along with us or if you've already read The Stand, you probably know that when things bled over into book 3 and it was just a downhill slide from there, and I couldn't stop reading it. I read it really quickly, the last bit, and so we weren't able really to squeeze in another episode. We've sat down though and we've talked about the events of the book and the remaining parts of it and what that means, what we thought, where we were, and all of these things. If you've been following along, I just really want to say thank you. If you haven't, buy The Stand, or if you've got it, pick it up. Go back. The episodes are always going to be there. You can always kind of go back and read through it and follow along with us. That's what it's here for. That's what this whole thing is here for you to read along with us. We're going to do an episode where we're going to talk about Stephen King's craft and the character development and conflicts and all of the literary type things that go along with it later on. But we have finished the book, and I hope that, again, if you've been reading along, you're there with us, and if you haven't, you still have a chance to go back. That's the great thing about podcasts. They're always going to be there. So without keeping you waiting, here is Jason Crockett and me, and we're talking about Stephen King's The Stand, Book 3. Committee. That's where we're at, I guess. We're talking about the Free Zone Committee. I kept trying to remember what Glenn, when he gave his rules to society. Do you remember that?
Yeah. He and Stu sitting up all night drinking, and was it Red Rock?
I can't remember. Like, yeah. I kept thinking about that because he was like, when you have 2, you have this, and when you have 3, you have this. Because he got up there, right? And
yeah, he did.
And he was adamant on 7.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to remember what he said. When you have 7, you have this. And I couldn't remember if it was the one where you would have like open rebellion. Do you remember him mentioning that number? Because
where's our fact checker?
I know. Because I was wondering if that was the specific number that was chosen because Harold kind of was doing his thing, you know.
I was trying to find the quote right here so we could show me a man and a woman alone and I'll show you a saint. Show me 2 people and they'll fall in love. Ooh, this is, I've never thought about that, but this is kind of like following that, because on their own, like in the beginning, you've got Stu on his own, Larry on his own. That's a person, that's a saint. Give me 2, like Stuart and Franny, or like Larry and they'll fall in love.
Or maybe even Stuart and Glenn in a sense of friendship.
Yeah.
Or
Harold and Fran in a sense of, I love you. Give me 3 and they will invent the charming thing we call society. And that does start to happen when they meet up with Glenn Bateman or Nadine and Joe. That's a family unit, right? Give me 4 and they'll build a pyramid. I'm trying to think of a parallel to that.
Too.
Give me 5 and they'll make 1 an outcast. Stuart, Fran, Glenn, Harold.
The woman that they were with.
I was thinking Kojak, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, Kojak. Big Steve.
Big Steve. Give me 6 and they'll reinvent prejudice. Give me 7 and in 7 years they'll reinvent warfare.
Okay. That kind of makes sense, though, because the dark man knows about what they're doing, and that's kind of what he's saying. It was Tom when they hypnotized Tom. He was like, he's laughing at us because he's getting ready for war, and we're making committees. So
Mother Abigail also references that too when she's thinking about it's Mother Abigail and another person. It might be Glenn Bateman too when he and Stuart are sitting up all night in the park, and they're thinking, it's all well and good that we've come here to Boulder and that we're needing to get people back together. We got to give people something to do. But Mother Abigail does not want to be in charge of whatever little committee you're putting together. That's not what I'm here for. And they do think about, like maybe not this year, but in the spring, we're going to see jets flying overhead. There's going to be an armored column rolling in, and we're all just going to be standing around. And what is he going to do? He's going to start unloading clips into all of us.
Mother Abigail's character, I think, took an interesting turn because she leaves.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the similarities between this and Lord of the Rings, and it really did kind of remind me of Gandalf.
Oh, okay.
Because he just kind of disappears, and we've talked about Gandalf's character a lot and the religious undertones with this. We've talked in the past on other podcasts about God, how sometimes we feel like God's absent, you know. But really, Gandalf was allowing the fellowship to form their own way, And then we've talked about, too, how, I guess, what was the podcast I'm thinking of where we feel like God's abandoned us, and then
that was in Between Two Fires.
Yeah, and he shows up just kind of at the right time. Maybe not the way we were hoping. And I feel like Mother Abigail was kind of embodied of that too.
Agreed.
So I just thought her character was really interesting as far as that aspect went to it.
Yeah, I know that as far as her being a chosen one to lead the children of America into Boulder, Colorado. She's like a Moses figure, right? But also she's like a Christ-like figure in this way. She's not Christ, but she's a Christ-like figure, like so many of our other good inherent characters, where they're made to be sacrificed for an ultimate purpose, right? An ultimate goodness. And I do love the humanity in her characterization, that she is trying to do her best. But even early on, she's haunted by dreams of her own pride.
Yeah.
Like the whole who brought you people, who brought music from this, who brought water from the rock, that she's worried about her own vanity and pride. And people are begging to come meet her. We've traveled all this way. We've dreamed about you. And I would want to meet her too. I would be driven. I really want to meet her. Not to fall down and worship her like some queen, but I really want to meet
confirmation.
This, right? I want to meet this icon of goodness. But she's worried, here I am sitting in pride, letting them come before me. And she feels like she's lost her connection to God. So like Christ needing to be purified, goes out into the wilderness for, an unspecified amount of time. She goes out into the wilderness for an unspecified amount of time. But it does give them a chance to be like, okay, well, we knew this was going to come. We didn't want to rebuild a theocracy with Mother Abigail to be like our high priestess. In the absence of Mother Abigail, what do? How do we reinvent the wheel? How do we refashion things without just going back to our old habits? Because now she's gone. We got to do that.
Yeah.
When they come up with the idea of how are we going to start putting this committee together, it's Glenn Bateman who's sitting up with Stu, and he tells him, well, the first thing you need to do is get a committee together, an ad hoc committee who's going to decide how things should start being run. And Stuart's like, you know what, that's a brilliant idea. And Glenn's like, well, it's really insidious because you're going to be telling people what to do and they're going to run with it. You're taking survivors and you're pivoting them into voters. And you're not going to give them 2 or 3 choices. You're going to give them one, and they're going to love you for it. And he feels a little bit slimy saying that, but he also knows if we don't do this, we're anticipating a lot of trouble because there's going to be like that one guy who's a rabble rouser who's like, maybe Flag's a good guy, that maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should have all of this. You cannot, or, they're going to let Harold Lauder be their champion. And we all know that there's something mistrustful about him. It is disingenuine it is, it's a lot manipulative, but it is for a good outcome. Mm-hmm. Is that a bad thing?
Yeah. That's a good question. We were watching a video with the kids last night, and it was like a would you rather. And then one of the questions was, would you rather present yourself as evil, like people think that you're evil, but really you're good? Or would you rather present yourself as good, but really you're evil? And it kind of gets into that to an extent, because I think that they were trying to protect the free zone. Mm-hmm. Like you said, if it gets in the hands of Harold Lauder, well, then who knows where that's going to go? Right. We don't trust him. Something's not right about him. Now he's hanging out with Nadine. What's going on with that? So I don't know. That's a good question.
I think you're right to think of it from the angle of parenting, because as a parent, you have had a lot more experience than these kids have had, and you do need them to make their mistakes and learn from them, but you also got to be there to be the bumpers that guard them until they're ready to stand on their own. And if I know, okay, those 3 kids are going to be bad influences on you, I don't want you around them. I don't want you to go to that party. I don't want you to whatever. Maybe it is a bit overprotective as a parent, but maybe it's also right to be a little bit manipulative to make sure your kids follow a safer path that is more beneficial for them. Mm-hmm. I'm worried that there are going to be parents or other kids that are listening to me say this right now and be like, God, since when is that ever a good thing? But you know what? Maybe it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of situations where, which your kids are older than mine, so mine are kind of getting in that area, my oldest especially, with relationships where you're kind of like, this person's not really great for you. And I know that for us, we try to question when she comes home and says, well, this happened, and we'll be like, well, have you noticed that continues to happen with this same person? Mm-hmm. I don't know that we're really manipulating, but we're trying to show, So I guess that's what they're trying to do, is this is the best path. Right. Let's try to shepherd it almost what you're doing, right?
I mean, I know really good people who are really good parents and really good influential voices in our school who pick classes for their kid or other kids. And you are removing free choice from that person, but is that necessarily a bad thing to say, well, you're going to take these classes next year? Yeah. Well, you're going to do this. I mean, I want those kids to have a choice in determining their future, but they're also young.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't necessarily know the best path for them.
Yeah. I think it's like you want your children to have natural consequences, because I know for me, that's the best way that I learn. But at some point as parents, we can't let them kill themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And Glenn Bateman knows, he knows that the old society that we had was a death trip, that everything that we had led up to, we were on a tangent to kill ourselves as a society. But the circumstances we live in now didn't just disappear that old society. We don't get a Garden of Eden to just start over in, because all those old toys, those old technologies and everything are just sitting around, and people like Flag or whomever will pick them up. Even if you think about it from the free zone, a lot of people are just kind of standing around waiting to be told what to do. Yeah. And in the absence of that structure, you've got people like the teenager who just gets drunk and drives a car and almost kills people. Well, there's nobody who told him he couldn't do that, because like a lot of us, it's not my kid. And I figured some other authority figure would tell him, no, don't do that. Glenn Bateman knows it is manipulative, but for the health of a society, we need to take certain steps, like let's engineer good people on the ad hoc committee, and we're going to get them nominated wholesale. We got to ratify the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. We got to ratify those core beliefs, which I remember the first time I read that, I was like, why would they have to do that? They're all still Americans. Yeah. And that's Stu's reflection too. And it's like, no, America died this summer.
No America.
There is no America. Yeah. We have to kickstart that back up, just like the power and everything else.
I did think that was interesting, that we're going to try to restart society and we're going to restart America. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't know if, I don't know, I'm sitting here thinking about what we're talking about, and I'm thinking about how you've got this mountain dividing the two sides, right? And you've got Randall Flagg and his group on the west side of the Rockies, and you've got the Free Zone on the east side. And then they're trying to restructure themselves as America, a democracy, essentially. You know, we're voting on our committee, we're meeting, we're having town halls, we're mostly transparent with what we're doing. And then Randall Flagg is, you do what I say to do, you know. And I don't know, I'm just sitting here thinking, do you think King is having some type of commentary on political structures?
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. I believe he does. I think it's a commentary on just the nature of America. One thing I love about comic books, you look at Superman and Batman, and they are both depictions of America. Or Captain America and Iron Man, they're both competing images of America, and they butt heads all the time. Neither one of them's wrong, but they are two competing images for it. Iron Man believes in the technocracy of it, and that, you know, maybe I shouldn't be beholden to all of the laws, but I'm going to be beholden to myself. And I trust myself for making the right decisions for things. But Captain America believes, no, we need to adhere to a more traditional view of leadership, God, values, that kind of thing, and that all of us, including myself, are beholden to. Superman's the depiction of
wokeness.
Of wokeness. Superman is the depiction of wokeness. Here he comes from small town America with small town values like, you know, be honest with your neighbor and like people. It's those really radical agenda things like, you know, defend the weak.
Helping others.
Things like that. Whereas Batman's more about, you know, I'm a rich guy, let's get richer. That kind of thing. But they're competing images of America. I like that King is honest about the weaknesses of both. That it's really easy to say, well, Free Zone good, Vegas bad. But Vegas has the lights on. He's got the trains running. He's got the buses going. He's got school back in session.
Yeah.
He's got, you know.
He's got ammunition.
He's got ammunition. He's got workers. And the power never really ran out. They had Hoover Dam and everything still going. And he was efficient in putting it together. Glenn Bateman also admits that he's worried a society like that might get all the tech people because they like the routine, they like the structure, they like the efficiency of following through. And that's a scary thing to think about how our personalities draw us that way. But Boulder has the freedom of choice. But all of that freedom is not necessarily an efficient thing.
Yeah.
And so you have a bunch of people who are just lollygagging and standing around, and too many voices are not necessarily healthy for decision making.
Well, also you get someone who, like Harold, who I'm in charge of body committee, you know, or burial committee, and I'm in charge. What was the other committee he was in charge of? He had the two, and he was just kind of he was
right.
like, I don't like either of these, you know. In that society, you have the chance of rebellion, where you're not going to have rebellion in Las Vegas,
No,
because they're ruled by fear. Well, that was what we talked about the last episode. Why did he crucify for drug use? Because he's establishing the fear, you know.
Yeah. And people who don't even want to look you in the eye, people who don't want to question. I saw a TikTok the other day that said, name a cult that's not really a cult, but is basically a cult. And the guy who stitched it said, teaching. He said, because it's not a cult at all, but you are not encouraged to speak out against your administrators if you have a different idea. You're not allowed to complain about your circumstances because you know what? Society's in a pinch right now and you need to be there for the children. We need you to remember your why. We need you to work those extra hours, but we can't pay you more, and you can't complain about this. And also, you're not really, you know, qualified to do anything beyond the classroom anyway. We need you to stay here.
Right.
So you're not going to think about leaving. And it was like all the reasons he gave, just really kind of like, you know what? That's what a cult talks to me like. But it is the same kind of way. It scares me because more than ever, I feel like America is caught between that kind of free zone Vegas mentality. You have so many people who grew up in a society that proposed to love the plurality of ideas, the freedom to speak out on those ideas. My mama didn't raise me to shut my mouth kind of thing. I love the Second Amendment, but they also don't love the other amendments or don't want to question when a leader says, well, of course they're the bad guy. Let's go with it. You get these round table events where a person sits themselves between 20 people in a circle and they say, I'm here to entertain conversations with any of these people about topics like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then whoever gets a chance to speak, they get like 5 minutes, and people in the outer circle get to raise a flag if they agree or applaud or whatever. But it's just supposed to be a debate between those two for 5 minutes. And I had to save this one because it really scared me. They really weren't even talking about the current administration. The host, the person leading the debate, is the son of an immigrant family. He is an educated person. He believes that, maybe we should entertain the thought of yada, yada. And the guy across from him kept giving all of these, maybe fascism isn't a bad thing. I identify as a fascist. I loved General Franco. I loved this. And I'm just sitting there agog at somebody who professes to love America so much, yet wholeheartedly embraces the things that we are supposed to be the antithesis of, that we've fought against since our very inception, So I feel like more than ever, we are caught between those two identities. I think the problem is that King's book, and maybe the reality of it, maybe historical circumstances dictate to us, those two can't stay in coexistence forever. Harry Potter and Voldemort, neither one can survive while the other one lives. Like, these two are going to butt up. The Confederacy and the Union could not coexist together, right? We're either a union or we're not.
Yeah.
And we either agree to let Drew Hastings say whatever it is he believes, even if it completely challenges everything that I believe, because he has the right to speak his mind just like I do. And I can't tell him to shut up, because otherwise I'm not allowed to speak either. Either we have it or we don't.
Yeah.
Either we can talk about everything or we can't talk about anything.
Why do you think Harold nominated the whole committee? What was the motives behind that?
I think I know, but I want to know your answer first. Because I remember watching it on the TV series as a kid, and I've also read it several times. I feel like I know.
I wonder if it was a manipulation tactic to be like I'm not that bad of a guy. I know that you don't trust me. I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like, he definitely knew he wasn't getting on the committee. He knew he was going to lose. So instead of being the loser, why not turn it on its head? They weren't going to invite me into their club. I'm going to show them I don't need their club. I'm going to say, I think that we should have all of the ad hoc committee in toto. I think we should have all of them. In toto. Right? He has to throw out a legal term, right? But he's like, yeah, I think we should go ahead and do that. Because even Glenn Maitman's like, oh my God, that was a genius idea. He beat us.
Was it Glenn that thought that? They were thinking he's done this to appear as the winner.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Harold's character for a minute, because we would text back and forth jokingly, but also serious about, I don't know how much he bothered us, how much he reminded us of some people that we knew, know. I really kind of got to feeling for Harold for just a brief moment when they start calling him Hawk, and he's like fighting that urge to say, these people really aren't that bad. Maybe they do accept me. And I don't know, Harold is a complex character because he's putting on, I was thinking this too, he's putting on that smile, and he thinks that he's fooling people, but it's making them distrust him even more.
Yeah.
Because Fran talks about how that's kind of where she started really thinking something's wrong with Harold. Larry, I think, mentions
what a letdown when Larry gets the meeting. He's like, oh, I knew you weren't going to be anything like I thought, but man, you really aren't.
But even Larry talks about how he was uneasy with the way that he would smile, and we know that Joe
wouldn't even go near him.
Yeah.
Was terrified.
Which Joe's character, to me, he's like a prophet almost in a sense, isn't he?
God's Joe, just like God's Tom.
Yeah.
Like some of these characters get that intuition, right? They get that divination.
Okay, I heard someone the other day. Wow, man, I wish I could remember the entire context because it's probably going to come off as harsh without the full context. But they were talking about why did God use maybe sometimes in the Bible these like simpletons, you know? And one person brought up the thought of, well, sometimes I guess us deep thinkers might question God too much and not act on what we feel. Do you know what I'm saying? And it made me think of Tom and it made me think of Joe, you know, because they were just acting on what they felt was right. They didn't question it. They didn't try to sit and think on it. Yeah. They just did, you know, and it made me think of those two characters.
Well, Mother Abigail's a reflection of that too, because why does she, again, go out into the wilderness? Because she's lost her connection to God. And what is it that cut off that connection? The ego, the pride. So why does God use, again, not my words, the simpleton to be his voice? I mean, seriously, but why use that person? Maybe because there's too much of me in my brain right now and not enough room for God.
Yeah.
There's too much of my voice and my ego and my want up there. I keep saying there's too much of that up there and there's not enough room for God.
Yeah. That reminds me of what I was going to say when you were talking about Mother Abigail. I myself could totally see her side of things where all of these people are coming to me, you know, that pride growing. That's all. How could you not, you know? Yeah. Here I am. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm thinking about sometimes in some of the classes I teach at the class I teach on Wednesday nights, I'll be like, wow, that was a banger, you know? And then there's a lot of times where I think, oh, that was terrible. But it is hard to say this came from, I guess, from God. And this is me where you want, do you know what I mean? And so I completely understand Mother Abigail's conflict. That for me was something that I really related to, was because she was struggling with that and she knew she was struggling with that, but she kept taking in these people. And I felt like she was thinking, I've got to do that. I've got to leave, but I don't want to leave because I think part of her was enjoying the recognition, you know.
It's also comfortable. And I think at times she also just felt a duty to these people.
Yeah.
But the bigger recognition is I have a duty to God before I have to my family, to my country, to these people or whatever. I have a duty to him. Yeah. And when Nadine meets up with her on the steps and it's like, there's that tense moment, Mother Abigail is so scared to follow through with it. But it's also like, if I follow through with it, if I can just listen to God right now, we can have this moment. We can out her in front of everybody. But she's scared. It's comfortable. She feels a duty to talk to the other guy that comes up to her. And that distraction may not be mean-hearted. It may not be driven out of pride or vanity. But it does distract her from, we could have revealed something there. We could have prevented something further down the line. But it's gone now, and I don't get that shot back.
Nadine tries to get Larry to sleep with her so that she can break this, I guess, curse or whatever.
Yeah.
The whole time I was thinking it's not going to work the way I think that she thought it would work.
Right.
What did you think about that whole situation?
How many times are our characters and we offered chances to turn around? Maybe not everybody gets a whole bunch of chances, but Harold does. Oh, yeah. And there's plenty of times he's thinking, you know, I don't have to steal this diary. I don't have to do this. They like me. They're calling me Hawk. I could do this. The same thing with Larry. You know, I don't have to go down this path and be same old Larry. I could be a new guy here. How many times does Nadine have an opportunity in her life to follow up on love, passion, something else? And she always saves herself for something darker, more lascivious and evil. And she knows it's wrong, but she does it anyway. So for her to show up at Larry's house, outside his house where Lucy can hear them and everything, and say, well, you can have me tonight. I mean, I know maybe you want me to pity you right now, Nadine, but this is not your chance. This is not the one and only chance. It's not Larry's fault that anything happens to you after this, because you had your chance to be with Larry. You could have your chance to be with Harold if you wanted to, but you don't.
Yeah.
So I think it's just another one of those excuses, but it's not really a chance for her to change. I think it's more of a chance for Larry to prove himself. And I think he knows it too.
Yeah. Larry's character was enjoyable and for the entire book, which I guess we'll do an entire episode over the entire book. But I don't know, the more I read Larry, the more I saw more of myself in him, we talked about it last week, the fear of decisions, because I don't want to make the same decisions, and I'm afraid if I make this decision, it could be the same. And like you said, he had this encounter with Nadine, and I think that everything in Larry's being wanted to go through with that, because that's what he had wanted. And
well, she's certainly physically alluring.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be crude, but if it's like you've been through all of these experiences and somebody holds the most desirable thing right in front of you, I mean, you could hold a steak in front of a starving man, and of course he wants that. Even if there's a poison pill buried in it, he's still going to be so desirous for that. Well, he demonstrates his control.
But also too, for Larry, she's been with him for so long, and we talked about how Nadine always made sure someone slept in between them, and that temptation had been there the whole time. And then here it is, So kudos to Larry.
This is going to be another thing that you're going to edit out, even just me saying
Maybe not, but
nah, because I just think about, we live in a society all the time where men and women are presented with the opportunity to cheat, the opportunity to see or view tempting things, and that can be a very addicting, self-destructive thing. And we are told that, we know that it's true, and yet it is so easily accessible that you're damaging yourself by constantly reaching for it and pursuing it. And it could be visibly tempting things. It could be, like drugs. It could be whatever it is. We live in a society of so much access to that it can be really challenging to deny yourself those self-harming things. But we also are finding, I think, more and more voices that are encouraging us, man, you don't need that. And here, talk about it. Let me talk to you about it. Let me hear about it to encourage you. We need to stay away from that. On the other side of that coin, I think Harold and Larry are really good flip sides for the coin of that. Because when we did our episode on 1984, I was talking about how the passage in the book says that Big Brother and the party liked denying a sexuality to young men because it instead replaced it with a worship of the state. And so you could breed this venomous rage and brutality and adamant worship and idealization of the state. And it makes me think of that word incel, right? The man who feels like women hate me, everybody hates me, I'm never going to get a woman, so instead I'm going to hate women and I'm going to turn it into something weaponized on behalf of a state, a power, something like that. That's Harold Lauder.
Yeah.
He never uses the word incel, but Harold Lauder, if he existed in the 2020s, would have been an incel. He is. Yeah. No woman in Ogunquit would have me. The woman I love won't have me, so I'm going to turn it. Even though he has an opportunity for women. He has an opportunity. Well, I think they're good coins.
Randall Flagg uses that as a weapon with Harold for sure.
He does.
Yeah. Something, too, you were talking about with the, addictions and temptations and things like that. With Larry, too, I think he's a good example for us of, he turns Nadine away and he still doesn't feel like relief from that. Does that make sense? He goes back and I don't know.
Winning doesn't always feel like a clear-cut win, does it?
That's what I was going to say. I think for people out there, that's something to think about is I can turn this away, and that's probably not going to feel as good as the other side. I think the fleshly version of Larry would have felt better to have Nadine. But towards the end of things, I think he started seeing that I made the right decision. You know, I'm thinking, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm thinking about whenever he's sitting in the jail cell. One of my favorite parts of the book was Larry was sitting there thinking about how I have become the Larry I've always wanted to be,
Oh, yeah.
Even though he knows he's at near death, I think he was content with that. He was like, I've become who I always have wanted to be. And I was kind of like, man, I bet that's a great feeling, I
have been waiting to talk about that transformation all summer.
Yeah. I was really like, that's what I'm saying. I think that was my favorite part because, like I said, I see a lot of myself in Larry. And I think, honestly, like there are times where when I read that, I was thinking, man, I want to know what that feels like to say, I am the person that I have always wanted to, like, not this version of, and I'm not speaking for myself, but I'm saying like celebrity, rich, all this. I'm thinking of Larry was thinking, I am a good person. I am good Larry. I am a nice guy, and I was like, man, I bet that's a great feeling.
I do like that in their trek across the country, Harold even surprises himself a couple of times when he sees his reflection in a car or something like that. He's like, who is that?
Yeah.
He doesn't even recognize, like, physically you've started to change on this path across America. And roads are such good metaphorical images of the personal journey that we're all on. This whole book is a personal journey for Larry. And he doesn't even look the same by the end of it. Old Larry and new Larry wouldn't even recognize each other. Old Larry did think that celebrity and getting, to be a one-hit wonder like that was the definition of success. Being surrounded by women and all of that would have been the definition of success. But good Larry sacrifices himself for other people.
Well, I'm thinking about that scene now, which stands out with as far as like a character change mark. He's sitting in Stu and Fran's kitchen, and Joe's playing the guitar and starts to sing "Baby, Can You Dig Your Man?" And Fran is like, "Wow, that song was huge before the plague broke out." And she said, "Who sung that?" And Larry was just like, "I don't know. Pop just comes and goes."
Joe, play something else.
Right. But I was thinking about that moment compared back to when he was out with I can't remember her name. She threw the spatula at him. And he was kind of being like, no, this is me. Like, let's go buy my records and look at my records. Complete opposites, Larry didn't want to be known, but he did then, and I just think that's, I don't know. There's a lot that goes into pride in this book because I'm thinking that's a story of, okay, I'm proud of this. And you should be proud of some of the things that you do, but that's a different sort of pride, isn't it? That Larry's doing. He's content with who he is towards the end of the book. You can be proud of that.
Right.
He's not trying to boast about it and say, look at me. Does that make sense?
Right.
So that was a marked character change in Larry.
Yeah, I agree. And it also surprises me. I mean, I've read the book, several times, but from the beginning, I already walk into the book thinking, okay, Fran, Stuart, Larry, like we're talking about the main good guys, Nick. They're all the main good guys. They're going to like each other. But at first, there's Stu's group and there's Larry's group. And even and Nick's group as well. There's like 3 different groups.
Yeah.
And when they're in the free zone, Nick is trying to think, okay, well, what about this? What about this? We don't want to exclude some of our voices from the free zone committee, but we don't know if we can trust all the others. Like there's even an uncertainty. Are Stuart and Larry going to like each other? Is Nick and them, like, are they all going to like, we don't want to exclude our group from it, so we got to make sure we get our voices in there too. Yeah. But you just think about it and it's like, I think Stuart and Larry would definitely like each other if they got to know each other.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And Nick, too. Like, how do you not like him?
Yeah.
Can we talk about Nick for a bit?
Yeah, we can talk about Nick, yeah.
So what'd you think?
I was honestly surprised at his death, you know. I don't know if we should say spoiler alert, but I was surprised at his death. I thought that, I don't know, but the more I thought about it after I read that part, he was the one that had to go, I felt like, because Nick's character, I don't know, do you think he was static?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because he was good to start off with, and he was good to end with,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that, to me, if one was going to have to die, it was going to be Nick, So I guess, to me, I was surprised that he died, but it wasn't like a type of thing.
Oh, was it not?
Not
Okay.
really, because I don't know. I think that event had to have happened for Harold's character arc. I think that event, he had to have killed someone.
Yeah.
He had to bring that character that he turned into. If he had gone throughout the whole book and not caused destruction of some sorts, that would have been a cheap character.
Yeah.
So I knew that had to have happened. I think you wanted Nick to survive because he was good.
Yeah.
But I knew that when that was going to happen, I was thinking someone was going to die, and it had to have been Nick.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, I just wondered what it would look like from the perspective of somebody who came to it not knowing the story.
Yeah.
Because it was like I already knew the outcomes for a lot of this when I first read the book. So I didn't know if it was going to hit you in the gut. Like, I didn't know if you'd become attached to Nick as a character, or if it was like, what? The book's not even nearly done yet, and he's dead? Like, I didn't know how that was going to hit a person.
I like Nick. I didn't get as attached to him as I did like to Larry or Stu or
Maybe
Fran. I know that you don't like Fran, but I really like Fran.
Okay, I mean, I got to take that back. It's not that I don't like her. She's just among my least favorite of the people. And I think she's certainly valid as a character, and okay, I get it. But when I read through the scenes of her doing her laundry and Stuart being a good guy, husband, and everything else, and here she is, but I feel like there's plenty of times she's just written like a stereotype.
But I think that's what I was texting you that one day. I think that King laid that out purposefully because we've got two characters who are in love, and every one of their scenes where it was just them two ended up with them having sex. And then you flip over to Harold and Nadine.
Yeah.
And they're not having sex, but they're participating in things that might as well have been, right?
Right.
But you've got one relationship that is driven on love and one that is driven on lust, and one is full of havoc and one is pointed in the right direction, Even when Stu becomes Marshall, she doesn't want him to be that, but they get through that together, because I think that they both know that that's what's right.
Yeah.
Because Stu doesn't really want to be that either.
Right.
And then whenever Mother Abigail says, you've got to go, they end up going and having the picnic, and they both know, I think that they both know this has to happen. Fran doesn't want it to happen. Of course you wouldn't want that to happen. Of course not. But I think that was, I don't know, maybe that's just the lens that I am looking at through, but I feel like that he's given us an example of a relationship built with like true love and a relationship built on lust.
That's really good.
Because it was just, Harold and Nadine was just destruction and havoc. And even, man, like Nadine was losing her mind towards the end of that, I don't know. She was just, it seemed like she was screaming all the time, and she was begging Harold to do stuff, and he was tossing her to the side, and Harold was really using her, you know. It didn't work out the way that he thought it was going to, but he was using her to get to where he thought he was headed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that Fran had to be the way she was because she was the opposite. I think that we knew that Harold and Stu would be at opposite ends. I don't think that I was expecting Nadine and Fran to be at opposite ends. Does that make sense? Even though I knew that Nadine was going to be trouble.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they would be like almost directly opposed to each other.
Well, they are character foil mothers.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking from a creator, author perspective, just, and also I need to clear up some points where I've mistakenly spoke earlier in episodes.
This is our new segment called Omissions, Errors and Omissions.
I apologize for what I said earlier. I had said that Stephen King had gotten this idea from a news report about a bunch of sheep that had died from anthrax. That's not true. It was from nerve gas, and it was a ton of sheep. And so the idea that a government-created thing would get out of hand, and that was part of the inception to this. And also the idea of King, you know what? He is a mega successful writer, and I have no right to speak against his talent or anything. But everybody brings up, does he write anybody who's not a white male? Does he write that well? Or is he like a stereotype writer? How often does he write black characters that feel authentic? Or how many times does he write a woman character that feels authentic? I was listening to a podcast the other day where they were calling out the scene early on in what we call the war pig scenario, where the black soldiers in their pink loincloths were executing white soldiers in the audience, and that he has to focus on the exaggerated police, or that he has to focus on their sparkling white teeth against their shiny black skin and everything, and that they are depicted in such a primitive, brutal way. And I can remember reading that the first time and being horrified by that scene just because of the brutality, that I thought it's because society's collapsing and human beings, regardless of color, are slipping back, are reverting into a brutal lashing out, you know. And could I imagine a society caught in the throes of apocalypse like this, people who have been abused for generations and centuries, who suddenly lash out because of inequalities? Yes, I could imagine that. I don't know that he's writing stereotypes. I don't know that he's doing that. But when I see, okay, he gives us Fran, he gives us Mother Abigail, he gives us Nadine, he gives us Lucy Swan. What other women characters am I forgetting?
Oh, why can I not remember?
Like significant ones.
The one on the committee.
Okay, there's Susan Stern.
Susan, yeah.
There's Dana that goes west.
Dana Jurgens.
But so often I feel like the women characters are not as well developed. I love Mother Abigail. I think she is a perfect, I shouldn't say perfect. I think she's a wonderful human being character. But we've talked before too, is she fitting into a stereotype of something that's more reductive? And I just feel like Fran can fit into a stereotype. I feel like she's not, I don't know. I don't know. I should stop talking about Fran because I don't know that I give her a fair shake.
That's just your perspective. There's nothing wrong with that.
But Nick Andros, I 100% see where you're coming from in that he doesn't really change. He gets better at being self-sufficient, and he is an inherently leader figure. I do remember reading from somewhere, and I'm going to try to get this as accurate as possible so I don't hate myself in listening to this in the future, but that Stephen King felt when he was writing the free zone part, he felt stuck. I feel like when I read that part, I'm kind of stuck too, that it's like, this is the boring part of, do we build a committee? Do we do all of this? And I remember reading somewhere that Stephen King was out on a walk on a country road near his house, and he was just like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And the only scenario that came to mind was, well, if you're stuck, you got to kill somebody off in your story. Like a character has to die. And so that it was going to have to be Nick. And, he is a sacrifice. He is another Christ-like figure who did nothing wrong. He was abused from the very start by a community that hated him. And here he is at the end laying down his life to find that bomb before it goes off, kaboom.
Yeah.
There's no stopping it. So Nick had to be eliminated.
Yeah, I think so too. If you had to kill someone, that would have been who it would have been, I think.
As an author, as a creator, and you're thinking, well, who has to die to further this plot? Yeah. You bring up a really good point that it's got to be part of Harold's arc.
It does. Yeah. He has to destroy something. Yeah.
And it's been a couple weeks now.
If he got back to Vegas and got to Randall Flagg and become one of his lieutenants, I don't think that would have had the payoff that it did with basically Flagg tossing him to the side,
Oh, no.
You served your purpose. Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what Harold deserved, almost, you know.
You're talking about what happens to him on the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was never going to be. I think that's supposed to be, you know, the point that we often teach is that evil is self-destructive. And you think selling your soul to the devil is going to get you a bigger reward, but inherently that deal is going to cost you a lot more. It's never going to have the good outcome.
Yeah.
You sold your soul for what, a golden fiddle? Well, you were never going to get that golden fiddle in the first place.
Yeah. I just think I was just thinking the whole time with Nadine, with Harold, you're foolish to think that you can trust Randall Flagg, you know? And maybe, again, that's just the lens that I'm reading with, but I just kept thinking, like, why would you think that this guy is going to offer you something and follow through with it? You know, we're talking about inherent evil.
Because
right?
we tell ourselves lies all the time to make ourselves okay with what we're doing.
Well, I think it goes back into what we talked about with the last episode, where Randall Flagg to them was winning, you know? And so I want to win. Yeah. And I think that I can find my way into that. So, okay, Harold leaves a note, or like not a note, but he writes a diary about forgive me, all this stuff. I wanted to know what you thought about that, because I thought...
You're talking about the final entry?
Yeah, where he was like, I was misled, you know? And you have pity on people, because we see that all the time, people we know that are misled, you know? But I don't know. I just wondered if Harold was trying to find like a last chance out of, no, this isn't really what I meant to happen. Do you know what I mean? When realistically it was what you wanted, Harold. You know, you got tossed to the side, and that's not what you were expecting. When in reality, for Harold, Stewart was starting to accept him. The committee, the burial guys were starting to accept. People were starting to accept Harold, you know. And I think Fran was having that hard time where she was like, maybe I've been too hard on Harold, you know. And when realistically, the person that was going to dispose of you is who you chose. And I don't know. I just didn't know if Harold was what you thought about Harold's diary that he left.
Yeah. I don't know. I imagine we all have deathbed regrets, even the best of us, right? And you wish you could have done things different. But it also makes me think of Nadine reaching out one last time to Larry of, you know, I need forgiveness for this. I need that. You also know that we're way past that. I don't think even then Harold knew he was deserving of anything. I think it's just, I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. He can say I was misled, but I think what he really means is I was really stupid.
Yeah.
You know, I should have known better. I did know better, but I made my mistakes. To say I was misled puts the responsibility on somebody else. So it is scapegoating. But we all do that too. We all tell ourselves lies. And I guess Harold's, even in a way, still lying to himself up to the end, maybe trying to make himself sound noble or something. I don't know. But I think what he really means is just, I was stupid.
What about in the series where, what about in the series where Stu like has that realization that Harold's dead?
Oh, did you watch this?
I saw the clip where he's like this.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of dumb.
Yeah, me too.
I thought that was kind of dumb.
Yeah, me too.
You know what? As a teenager, I didn't think it was dumb. I think I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, because there are these weird supernatural. You hear about twins who suddenly knew that their twin sister was in a car wreck halfway across the country or something like that. And there are plenty of supernatural instances that Glenn Bateman talks about with the airlines and stuff like that. So I could see that in the series being this little neat, here's a connection to it. But nah. It's been a couple of weeks now. Golly, why am I forgetting this? Does anybody happen upon the carcass or the ruins of the kid?
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That happens too.
Yeah.
But
because they kept calling him the Wolf Man.
That's right.
The whole party came across him.
That's right.
Because Larry was really bothered by it.
Yeah,
and I think Glenn and Stu kept calling him the Wolf Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nobody ever comes across Harold's body, right?
Yeah.
Oh, am I forgetting this?
Stu, the whole part they come across because remember they said that he had been picked apart by buzzards, but they could still tell that it was Harold.
That's right.
Yeah.
So again, we have the tandem of Harold and the kid. I don't know what I was going to say about that, but I remember that coming up for me.
I don't know either. Let me check what time it is. Okay.
1:39.
All right. Mary Beth's going to be here at 2.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Kojak comes back, Big Steve. I thought that it was really creative the way that he did like the inner dialogue of Kojak, you know, because it made me think that's what dogs probably really think like, because he kept saying the man. Where is the man? And yesterday we found a dead rabbit in our driveway and we thought that Ralph had killed it, you know. And I told Mary Beth he'll sit on the deck and watch these rabbits come out of the weeds and then he'll take off after them. And I said, I guess he finally got one. And she said, why do you think he just wanted to do that? And I said, you know, I think hunting rabbits just makes dogs happy, because that's what Kojak was dreaming of. But the more we stepped through it, I think a hawk had accidentally dropped this rabbit in there. I'll have to tell you that later. But anyways, Big Steve.
Did you like that he wasn't a goner, that he actually comes back?
Yeah, I did. I thought, I don't know. I was wondering, like, is he like another agent like Joe and Tom Cullen? Because he fights those wolves off, you know, and he finds his way back. And I just didn't know. And Mother Abigail has that vision where she says, 3 of you will return. And it was not the 3 that I thought, you know.
Oh, was it not?
No. Because Stu gets left behind, and I thought, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think Stephen King is trying to end with a happy ending here, right? Stu's going to stay and go back to Fran. I'd never one time thought that Stu was going to die. I thought that when Glenn got shot, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Ralph, Larry, Stu, there's your 3.
Yeah.
But it wasn't them, you know, so.
So before we head toward wind up, you bring up Stewart getting elected as the marshal.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for you to hit that part too, because it's like Stewart is the Texan.
He's the cowboy.
He's the good guy. He's the and who's going to be our marshal but the cowboy? He's right. He's got to be that. He's the good guy sheriff. But also that part as they leave and go west. It always haunted me as a kid. It spooked me because it feels very biblical in a way of, you got to leave right now with nothing except the clothes on your back. You got to go right now. And as they're going, they're getting leaner and leaner. And when they come down the street and they see the road ambush ahead of them, like it's just waiting for them.
Yeah.
And you know there's no getting out of it. Like the journey was going to come to an end. We knew it was going to come to an end, but the bad guys are definitely waiting for them.
And Larry says, how do?
And how just riding in the car, how riding in a car became a luxury all over again.
Oh, yeah.
Like just the miles falling behind you. And where does he wind up? But in Clark County Jail. He winds up in a jail. Right? The part where Lloyd and Flag are coming down the hallway and they hear the boots.
Oh, yeah.
It always gets me there, too, because it's like the devil's walking with him. It's the hooves that are coming with him.
Yeah.
And you are giving these guys or somebody like Glenn, you're giving them the potential hope of, you might get out of this. You might get out of this. All I'm going to need you to do is.
Which he does that to. Is it Dana Jurgens that he does that to?
Oh, yeah.
Because
they've caught her as being the spy.
Yeah, he says, you can go, and she's allowed to leave, and he goes, hold on, just one thing I need you to do, though.
Yes, and it's like, I remember reading that and feeling it kind of in my gut of like, you might actually get out of this.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah.
He knew from the very start, you were never getting out of this. That always kind of haunted me as a kid, and it felt biblical, like end of the world-ish, like here are the people. Because I've told you before, I'm raised by people in a very Baptist family who I can remember watching these movies about end of the world as a kid. And here's the rapture, and here's the people that are going to stand against the Antichrist and that kind of thing. And so it felt very much like a scenario like that. You had texted me during the summer and said that you thought it was ridiculous that the Free Zone would send somebody like Tom Cullen as a spy.
Yes.
Like you were upset. You thought, I guess just the decision was ridiculous, or?
Yeah, I think which I told you, one of my favorite scenes in the entire book is when they talk to God's Tom
Yeah.
when he's hypnotized. But I don't know. I think I was just really concerned. I think I was on the side of Fran, you know. I was concerned that Tom Cullen would get caught in a situation and get compromised, you know.
Yeah.
I thought that, I know I told you that, I thought for sure there was going to be this weird situation where there was like an elephant on a Las Vegas sign and they were going to say, hey, Tom, come and look at this elephant or whatever. And he was going
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And I thought, I don't know. I thought that it was putting a lot of trust in, which this probably goes along with the message of the story. It kind of goes along with Gandalf choosing the hobbits.
Yeah.
Putting a lot of trust in something that really just doesn't, to me, didn't seem like the safe bet. Which, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what Gandalf was like, no, the hobbits are great, you know?
Yeah, right.
And everybody else was like, why are you choosing these halflings? I don't know. I think it made sense when we got towards the end of it, you know. There was just a lot more to Tom Cullen than I think what most people, which again, that just goes into what we're talking about. He's the hobbits, you know. So,
well, you had said that, and it made me think about the 3 spies that they choose to send west.
Yeah.
There's Tom Cullen, there's Dana Jurgens, and number 3 is
the judge.
The Judge.
Yeah.
And whenever I read The Judge, I always think of Fred Gwynne, who played Herman Munster in The Munsters. But if you've ever seen the movie My Cousin Vinny, he's also the judge in My Cousin Vinny. And he just seems like a very intellectual, kind of honest, straight shooter judge. I don't know, but he's also an old man.
Yeah.
And so thinking about their choices for who they agree to send west, my first thought was that Dana was going to be the best one of them.
Well, she was like, I'm going to kill him.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also spooked me how efficiently he already knew that it was the judge.
Oh, I know.
He already knew that it was Dana.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out
But
Tom
I can't
Cullen.
figure out that third one.
Yeah.
All I can see is the moon. And reading that, even just talking about it now, it just kind of sends a chill over me because it's like, oh my God, we've been joking about that this whole time. And he is precluded from seeing everything. He may be powerful, but Flag is not omnipotent.
Well, that goes into, again, Lord of the Rings. One reason that Gandalf chose the hobbits is because Sauron was overlooking them. You know, he could not see them. And so it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of parallels with the two.
Yeah.
You know? I liked how the wheels were falling off and Randall Flagg's panicking.
Yeah.
That I'm trying not to panic. And he's even like, no, I still got it. You know?
Which really, that only starts to happen when? Do you know?
Well,
because I feel like I know when it happens.
They have the incident where Trash Can Man blows the planes up because that's when Lloyd starts to question, you know, and then he knows that Randall Flagg can see the judge, and then he's sleeping with Dana, and then, you know, they come in there and and then when he's like, when Dana kills herself, Lloyd's kind of like, this is not right. Something's going wrong here.
I think for me, Flagg definitely seems to have everything going his way right up until the point when he finally gets Nadine.
Yeah.
And after he and Nadine in the desert consummate their relationship, after that, he thinks like, I've got a son now. It's done. There's no defeating me. And that's when things really start to like slip and fall apart. He can't see everything. And people are getting by him, and you know, this is not falling apart. People are starting to sneak away into the desert at night. Like everything's falling apart, but he thinks, I've still got it. Got it. Trashy blows up the airplanes, but you know what? Bring him back. I'll end him. You know, he's been a good and faithful soldier, but we've still got this. Yeah. But no.
I was going to say, one thing that did frustrate me with the judge, minor details. Minor details.
Yeah.
He leaves Boulder in a Land Rover, but they're looking for an international scout, and it bugged me to death. Because I was thinking, okay, you've added one of these parts in here, Stephen King. How did you not know? Like, why did you do this to me? It just really bothered me. Minor details.
What about the part with Randall Flagg and Nadine. Because that's pretty visceral, brutal,
Well, he
horrifying.
takes his pants off and she screams.
Yes. I have used The Stand 2 times as summer reading for AP Senior Honors, and kids always bring up that part, right? It's just absolutely a horrifying train wreck that I feel like you have a hard time not like looking away from the train wreck.
Yeah.
You know, it's a horrifying, brutal, terrifying thing.
Well, I think Nadine was having that inner conflict, you know, even though she seemed so loyal to Randall Flagg, she still had that in her where she wasn't sure, you know, if this is the right thing, but then would be like, yes, this is the right thing. And then the moment she meets him in person and he's like, let's go back over here, she says no. And it's like, it's too late now,
way too
you know,
late,
and I just think that it was a situation for her where she realized this is going to be brutal. This is not going to be what I guess has been presented to me in my head, you know, because she was having the dreams.
Yeah.
Remember, what is the girl's name that they were traveling with and her husband, they had to take his
Mark and Perry.
Yeah. She was saying, hey, she's having dreams where she's like pulling her own hair and stuff, you know.
And saying, no, it's cold.
Yeah,
it's too cold.
And so you know that she had like envisioned this happening, and I think when she got there, she realized this is everything I thought it as all the good things that I thought were going to come out of it. This is all the bad things that I thought were going to happen.
Which again, she's been lying to herself this whole time of no, I don't dream. You and I had talked before in the episode about Between Two Fires about Thomas going through a kind of hell at the end and witnessing awful things happening to your family members or perpetrating them on your family members, your loved ones, and it just being repeat over and over and over. That is Nadine going through hell there at the very end because it feels like the night will never, ever end for her. And then she's just catatonic afterward and completely hair gone white afterward.
I couldn't figure out if she was, like you said, catatonic because of, did he put her on one of his spells or was she just, because she kills herself, you know, so she obviously had the willpower to take care of that on her own.
It's almost like she wrestles enough of that back there at the very end.
Or, well, I don't know. I'm wondering if like he's losing his power. If that's a part of it too. Yeah. You know. But I was gonna say give the example of him not being able to levitate, but that was after she had jumped off the balcony. Yeah. So
I read it as kind of like, you know, he's done this awful thing to her and broken a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just awful.
I liked the way that I guess the end happened. The bomb goes off.
Do you like it?
I think so. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I thought
but
so.
I know a lot of people don't. They feel like it was
Nathan said it was
easy.
anticlimactic.
Yeah, and I didn't feel that way at all.
I think that I like the part where Ralph's like, hey, it's the hand of God. You know, I think it goes into what we were talking about. Mother Abigail shows up right when she needed to, you know, and in this situation, I don't know. I know, again, I apologize to our listeners. I don't want to seem like ultra religious, but to me, it's just like that thought of God's plan, you know, because you're like, what is going on? This is, where are we at? Where are you at? And then, okay. Because even Trash Can Man going to get that bomb, I was thinking, this is not good, you know? And then it was like, okay, that makes sense, you know?
As people who believe a certain way and reading a book that is about a certain lens of Christianity, you really have a hard time talking about it without talking about it, you know? So while not everybody believes the way that you and I tend to believe, in this instance, it worked for me because it was like all things serve the will of God.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And in some of his other books, he calls it, he says it a different way, but it's like all things serve the purpose. Yeah. All things fall in line eventually. And even Trash Can Man may be out there getting away with stuff. Maybe certain people that you didn't vote for are getting away with stuff. But if you believe the way that I believe, then it's like eventually all things serve the plan.
Well, that's what that Bible verse says. Right. All things work together for good.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And so and Mother Abigail says that too, even the dark man, in a way, serves the plan. So for me, I was spooked out by what happens to the three who make it to Vegas. I was scared and haunted by what happens to Glenn Bateman in a jail cell,
but kind of proud of him.
Yeah. And then here's Larry and Ralph Bretner being brought out to be crucified in front of everybody and executed. And at the very last minute, they witness the ultimate bit. They're not going to be the testifiers who go back and tell others. That's for Stewart to do.
Yeah.
But I also just like that last bit of seeing it and getting to go home.
I think I would have been satisfied if the book would have ended there, to be honest with you. I had a hard time getting through Tom and Stu.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I had a hard time with that. I don't know. I liked that we have Tom and Stu and this camaraderie and we're getting back, but I don't know. It was just at the same time, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I could have formed this on my own,
I guess.
I liked knowing that Tom saved Stu. I liked that part. I do feel like that was needed. I don't know. I just didn't really feel like the rest of it was needed. But do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Lord of the Rings. Once we've destroyed the ring, where do they go? They go back to the Shire. And guess what? The army's waiting, right?
Yeah.
Was it Wormtongue that's waiting for them?
Sharky. Yeah.
They had a person.
It's Wormtongue and Saruman.
Yeah, we had to finish this last task, and so when I was reading that, I was thinking, okay, the parallels to Lord of the Rings. This is the hobbits are going back to the Shire. We're going back through this.
Yeah,
I thought Randall Flagg was going to be waiting in Boulder. Because of the parallels to Lord of the Rings. But I don't know. I just felt like it was. I don't know. And I was watching a video, and I want to talk about this too, really quick. He was comparing the two series, like what were the major differences, and he was talking about how Fran was just like, I just want to go back to Maine, so let's leave civilization. I thought that was stupid. It's like he said, he was like, you've got a character who is raising an infant, and she wants to leave medical care
and just homestead by herself.
Yeah, okay, yeah, come on, And I was thinking like maybe they're going to take a group with them. Maybe we'll take a doctor or two. Or and we're gonna restart on the East Coast. You guys have got it here. We're gonna go back here, but no, they really just kind of went by themselves. But one thing I did like, the '94 series, the lightning turns into that hand and grabs it. And okay, it was 1994. It was a TV show, whatever. But I watched the 2020 version.
Oh, you watched it?
Well, I watched the end part of that.
Oh, I've never seen it.
I thought it was cool because it's not the MGM. They've named it something else, but it's like a big hotel casino, and this cloudy hand comes and grabs the entire hotel, and then it comes down this like thundercloud. There's like a hole I'll have to show it to you after this, but this thundercloud comes down. And it's like shooting lightning out, Oh,
wow.
And I really like that because when you go back and look at the Israelites' journey, that's how God presented himself as thunder and lightning, What was it? Cloud by day, flame by night or whatever.
Yeah, pillar of flame.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool that they did it that way, But yeah.
I liked that at the very end, I liked the return because I felt like, as somebody who's super invested in the characters and story, I wanted more, right? At least just to tie it up more. And getting to go back and Stewart catches the real flu this time. I'm about to die of the real flu. And how's Tom Cullen going to care for somebody? But he gets to see Nick. Yeah. He gets to see God's Nick, who can talk, who can hear. And I'm going to walk you through this one time. It kind of gets me in my feels, even just thinking about it, right? Getting to be with these people that were taken from you too soon and getting one more chance to talk to them, and being just enough to save you and get you back. I do agree with you that Stewart and Fran heading off for themselves just seems not entirely right. Like maybe as a group, maybe even if they were just the next community over or something like that. But road tripping?
Yeah. No.
It was super difficult to do this when we had everything right fresh after the super flu. But to do this a year later?
I just felt like I understand that Fran is homesick. She's had a child. I think we all think about we want our children to experience parts of our childhood. You know, I want my kids' experience to be different than mine, but I want
see the home you came from.
Right. I want certain things to be the same. And I understood that. But to, like you said, why not go to Denver? Or why not go to Golden or Vail? Why do we have to go back to Maine? You know, it just, to me, was the thing that I liked about the group was, for the most part, they were fully rational thinkers. You know, that was one of the big differences between the two. You've got rational thinkers versus irrational actors. You know, we're acting on irrationality. We're acting on emotion. Where over here in Boulder, we're trying to rationally think out things, you know? And that was such an irrational decision. Yeah. Just so irrational, you know?
Well, that's Fran.
Well.
I'm kidding.
I take back all I ever said about Fran.
What about the epilogue? The scene after the very end of it?
Yeah. I had mixed emotions about that island. Because I kind of wish Randall Flagg would have been waiting in Boulder. Yeah. Because that was one thing that kept me reading that part as opposed to speed reading through it. Yeah. Was because Stu kept hearing the laughter and the dreams and the wolves. And I was dreading it. Honestly, I thought he's escaped, you know, he's escaped and he's going to be waiting in Boulder, and that's going to be the last showdown, you know?
Yeah.
So part of me was disappointed in Randall Flagg being alive on this beach, because you want to think that evil has been dominated, you know?
Yeah.
But I watched that episode, that YouTube video I was telling you about, and in the 2020 series, Abigail Fremantle is reborn as a young girl. Right. And the guy was saying, you know, this is just showing that it's good and evil is always going to exist, good versus evil. And so I understood that. I wanted to ask you, though, what is the significance of the initials RF? Because all of his aliases are RF, because
Richard Fry and all that.
Well, he even has Fremantle as one of his.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so I didn't know what you thought about that.
I don't know. I think it was just a trope of like some signifier for this character. Okay. And we had talked about that before with H.H. Holmes and how his names weren't always so different, right? And even James Gatsby, Jay Gatsby was James Gatz to begin with. So it's like our pseudonyms, like we're always leaving a little detail so we can be followed and tracked down by it. But there's an interesting detail to me when Mother Abigail in Boulder was thinking about all these conveniences around her, and how years and years ago there was a salesman that came by that kind of was a sweet talker, and he tried getting her to buy stuff. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Do you remember the salesman's name?
No, but I bet his name was RF.
No, it wasn't. Right? Okay. His name was Don King. And boy, he was a sweet talker, but I couldn't have bought anything from him and whatever.
Is that like the boxing guy?
Right. That was my first thought. But I was also thinking, because Trash Can Man, his name is Donald Merwin Elbert. Did a little bit of looking up on it, and apparently more people knew about this than I thought. I thought I had stumbled onto something, but I don't get any internet points for this. Stephen King's father left when he was really, really young, and his name was Donald.
Oh, okay.
And he was a salesman. He left. He abandoned Stevie King and his mother. And here, about that same time period, a character named Don King, who was a sweet talker, shows up at Mother Abigail's, and she wonders whatever happened to that guy, and she can imagine him breaking some poor white girl's heart back east.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, what? What? I thought I had tripped onto something, but apparently that's a pretty noticeable detail to the fandom out there.
We can talk about more of the craft when we do like our summary episode, but I do think that there were little details like that Stephen King did a good job with. You know, I know that we talked a little bit about on the last episode, where does he stack up as opposed to like McCarthy or Faulkner or Fraser or whoever, you know. But I mean, there was parts of that I enjoyed, because it's like I said, the RF to me, I was like, that has to mean something, you know. So
cool.
Yeah. I don't know who to say thank you as.
Oh, golly.
I don't know that I can talk James is trashy.
I don't know either. I don't know. I think you need to say it as Big Steve.
What if I just started barking? I think
and then I have to translate it.
If I have another dog, another boy dog, it's definitely going to be named Big Steve. But I'm going to call him Kojak.
Kojak. And nobody will get it but you, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
This is Drew Dalton Haston. I'm trying to do my Harold Emery louder. What does he say when he's about to blow him up?
Hey, but you know what? That's a thing right there, too. Your convicted killers, like the big time assassins, we always print their names as first, middle, last. We never just go first, last, right?
Right.
It's John Wilkes Booth.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's the guy that assassinated Martin Luther King? James Earl Ray.
James Earl Ray. Yeah.
We always give them their three names.
Well,
Harold
also,
Emery Lauder.
I was thinking when I texted you about, I thought there was comparisons between he and Piggy. HEL. That almost spells hell.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I don't know if there's something about that, but
that's true.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm just hoping.
So you're going to say this, Harold?
I was trying to. I can't remember what he said. Oh, okay. I got it. You ready? Mm-hmm. This is Drew Dalton Haston, and I thank you on my own free will.
I'm stuck. Who have we not covered yet? Who would be good for this last part?
Well, you've done Larry. Who did you do the last one?
Was Larry the last one?
I think you did Tom Cullen.
Oh, Laws, yeah. I did Tom Cullen. That's right. Laws, yes.
Do a Randall Flagg.
Oh, God.
Yeah, do a Randall Flagg. I say.
I sure would like to let you out of that cell. We could go have us a couple of burgers and shakes. We could get us some yurt right now if you wanted to. But I'm going to need you to just kneel down for me and say, thank you. Just one time. The thank you.
That was good. That was really good.
Hey, if you're a fan of good conversations and fresh takes on literature and the kind of school stories that stick with you long after the bell rings, well, I've got a podcast for you. It's called With Honors, and it's where my high school students have taken the microphone, not just to analyze books or talk about our lessons, but to reflect on what we've learned this year, have conversations about what surprised them, how our literature and classroom experiences connect to their real lives. And we talk about everything from symbolism and Poe to the pros and cons of class pets, and all through the voices of smart, curious students who have learned to speak their minds. New episodes drop regularly every week, and every one is a snapshot of what it looks like when students take ownership of their own learning and have a little fun while they're at it. You can find With Honors on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our YouTube channel, so check them out.